you're dealing with an addicted generation.
This is a big time bomb ticking.
This is no accident. Indeed, it is by design.
I mean, seriously?
It was my mistake.
We now know that many of the major social media companies hire individuals called attention engineers who borrow principles from Las Vegas casino gambling, among other places, to try to make these products as addictive as possible. That is the desired use case of these products, is that you use it in an addictive fashion because that maximizes the profit that can be extracted from your attention and data.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to be discussing an important topic that affects many of us: social media addiction. In particular, we'll be talking about how our brain's dopamine system plays a key role in our addiction to social media. But don't worry, we're not just going to talk about the problem. We're also going to talk about practical solutions that can help you regain control of your life. So without further ado, let's get started. Part 1. Understanding the dopamine system. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that plays a key role in the brain's reward and motivation pathways. Whenever we do something that feels good, like eating our favorite food or engaging in social activities, our brain releases dopamine. This creates a sense of pleasure and reinforces the behavior, making us more likely to repeat it in the future. The release of dopamine in response to pleasurable activities is a natural and healthy response. However, the problem arises when we start to engage in behaviors that release dopamine in an excessive and uncontrolled manner. This can lead to addiction and compulsive behavior, such as the addiction to social media. It's important to note that dopamine is not the only neurotransmitter involved in addiction. Other neurotransmitters like serotonin, norepinephrine, and GABA also play a role. However, dopamine is often referred to as the pleasure chemical because of its prominent role in reward processing. In addition to social media addiction, excessive dopamine release has been linked to a variety of other addictive behaviors, such as gambling, drug addiction, and overeating. By understanding how the dopamine system works, we can begin to understand why we become addicted to these behaviors and how we can break free from them. In the next part of the video, we'll explore how social media specifically triggers the dopamine system and leads to addiction. Part 2. The role of social media in dopamine release. Social media platforms are designed to be highly addictive, and they're very effective at triggering the release of dopamine in our brains. Every time we engage with social media, such as by checking our notifications, scrolling through our feeds, or receiving likes and comments on our posts, our brain releases dopamine. Social media platforms use various features and techniques to trigger dopamine release, such as 1. Notifications. Social media platforms often send notifications to our devices to encourage us to engage with them. The anticipation of receiving notifications and the actual receipt of them trigger the release of dopamine in our brains. 2. Likes and comments. Receiving likes and comments on our posts triggers the release of dopamine because it creates a sense of validation and social recognition. 3. Endless scrolling. Social media platforms are designed to be highly engaging, and they often use an endless scrolling feature that encourages users to continue scrolling through their feeds, triggering the release of dopamine. Over time, our brain becomes conditioned to associate social media use with the release of dopamine, and we start to crave it more and more. This can lead to compulsive social media use and addiction, which can have negative impacts on our mental health and overall well-being. In the next part of the video, we'll explore the negative effects of social media addiction and why it's important to break free from it. Part 3. The negative effects of social media addiction. Social media addiction can have a range of negative effects on our mental health and well-being. Here are some of the most common ones. 1. Anxiety and depression. Research has found that excessive social media use is associated with increased levels of anxiety and depression. This may be because social media use can lead to feelings of social comparison, loneliness, and FOMO, fear of missing out. 2. Reduced attention span. Social media use can also reduce our ability to focus and concentrate on tasks, leading to decreased productivity and performance. 3. Poor sleep. Using social media before bed can disrupt our sleep patterns, leading to poorer quality sleep and increased feelings of fatigue and grogginess. 4. Addiction. As we mentioned earlier, social media addiction is a real phenomenon that can have negative impacts on our mental health and well-being. Part 4. Practical solutions for overcoming social media addiction. Breaking free from social media addiction is essential for our mental health and well-being. Here are some tips for reducing social media use. 1. Create a schedule. Set aside specific times of the day to check social media and stick to them. You might choose to check social media once in the morning and once in the evening, for example. 2. Use apps to track your usage. There are several apps available that can help you track your social media usage and set limits on your screen time. Some popular options include Moment, Rescue Time, and Off Time. 3. Replace social media with other activities. Instead of spending time on social media, try engaging in other activities that you enjoy, such as reading, exercising, or spending time with friends and family. 4. Limit exposure to triggers. Identify what triggers you to use social media excessively and try to limit your exposure to them. For example, if you find yourself constantly checking social media when you're bored, try to find other ways to occupy your time. 5. Take breaks. Taking regular breaks from social media can help break the cycle of addiction. Consider taking a weekend off from social media, for example, or going on a social media detox for a week or longer. 6. Seek support. If you're struggling to reduce your social media use on your own, consider seeking support from a mental health professional or a support group. It's important to remember that breaking free from social media addiction takes time and effort. Be patient with yourself and celebrate small victories along the way. By implementing these tips and making a conscious effort to reduce social media use, you can improve your mental health and well-being and lead a happier, more fulfilling life. Conclusion. So there you have it, a brief overview of social media addiction and some practical strategies for overcoming it. Remember, breaking free from social media addiction is not easy, but it's definitely possible with the right mindset and tools. If you're struggling with social media addiction, try implementing some of the strategies we've discussed today and see if they work for you. And as always, thanks for watching.